Hey there, my name's Joe Keyport, and you're listening to the Ear Coffee Podcast. We have a special episode this week. It's a split-themed episode because in January, the bands Mr. Submissive and Superheater released their split, Super Submissive, 4 songs of some surf rock, garage rock, psych rock goodness. And to help celebrate that release, I chatted with members of both bands individually for something split-themed. We start off with Mike and Billy of Mr. Submissive to get a little history and chat about the release before heading over to Max and Kevin of Superheater. This episode is a special one. Both Mr. Submissive and Superheater were some of the first local bands that I started listening to when Ear Coffee made the switch from being shitty Pitchfork into being something that was focused on the local scene here that we all know and love today. It's Mr. Submissive and it's Superheater, and they're both right here on the Ear Coffee Podcast. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, man.
Yeah, I'm feeling good today. Happy to be here.
Surviving Snowmageddon round 3 for the
Oh yeah, I got a sweet spot out front on that odd side of the street.
That's so whack.
Go
find parking in the Minneapolis farmers market lot or something.
Mike has parking, so
nice.
Yes, I do have it's outside, so I still have to clear out my car, but it's off the street at least. So,
well, cool. We can jump right into it. And one of the first things, actually, before we get into this, let's have you each introduce yourselves for the people who may not be aware of Mr. Submissive and the music you make.
I'm Billy, and I sing and play guitar. Yeah, that's about it.
you're not gonna talk about the music, huh? Billy writes the lyrics. I'm Mike. I play bass, and we kind of do most of our recording ourselves. So I kind of do a lot of the audio production stuff with that too. I had to pick up the slack just because I'm definitely the worst musician in the band. And I just say that with self-awareness, not trying to be self-deprecating or anything. So I'm like, I got to bring some other skills to the table too. Yeah. I feel like Billy's better at introing the music though, talking about it.
Yeah. I could lay it down. Sorry. So there's 2 mics in this band. Sorry, that was the thing that I was thinking about just now. But Michael Thomas Fetting, and Mike Grasky plays drums. So that's a big, weird thing that I am constantly trying to separate for everyone. There's 2 mics in the band. And Keegan, guitar.
Gotcha. And so we'll get into Mr. Submissive a little bit more here, but what's your your 1-sentence way to describe the band to people who are like, oh, you play in a band, what kind of music do you make? Or, what is the band? Because usually it's the way you describe it to people who, are maybe not in the know, or it's like a family member at Thanksgiving, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to move on because we don't want to have to get into the weeds of whatever this is.
Okay, so yeah, avoiding terms like swag pop and shades and whatever that we try to mask it with. I would just say that's kind of a psychedelic punk band, kind of what I've been giving to people, like indie rock. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good description. I feel that's a very real experience. I get that question all the time because, from family members. So I just tell them, oh, it's kind of like punk, surfy, punk rock, garage rock type stuff. And I don't know. I feel like even then they're still just whatever, Mike. Okay, I asked, my obligation is done. I don't have to pry any deeper.
That's all I need to know about you for this go around. We'll find a new question next year. So then how did y'all get into music? Before you got into Mr. Submissive, what's kind of your backstory that made you really want to start making and playing and, be in a band?
I was in a few bands in high school. Before that, I didn't really have much exposure to live music. I guess if if you want to get into it, the first band I ever saw live was Huey Lewis and the News at the State Fair.
Hell yeah.
But after that, it was like mostly just, going to concerts in high school, like the Triple Rock, Club 3 Degrees or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah. But then, getting into college, like I did a little bit, but not anything near as like important as this project has been. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I started playing guitar in high school, and then I was kind of getting increasingly more into heavier types of metal, even though I was like pretty bad because I just didn't practice, right? I didn't put the work in, right? But I was just like, I want to learn these super technical songs and fumble my way through them. So I had a terrible grindcore project with one other guy from my high school. And I think we recorded like one demo that was like a minute and a half long. And I wish I still had it though. Like just to look back on, like I'm not proud of it, but I still think it would be funny to show to people, and I wish I could, but it was terrible. So that wasn't really a serious bit. So a lot of times I just played to like easy drummer, and then kind of played on my own in college, and that's where I met Billy. And then right after we graduated is kind of when Mr. Submissive took off. And that was actually our first rehearsal was my first time really playing bass with people at all. So, I mean, I hung in there. The songs were easy enough at the time.
So Billy, were you like playing out before Mr. Submissive started then? Or were you, because you said you played in a couple bands.
Yeah, we did like stuff like the Depot, and just like friends' basements and other house shows, playing in living rooms and whatnot. But it was never anything like I was taking like too seriously. I guess he had like the pop punk teenage anthems and alienation, but I think this is like a little bit more focused now. But I was still kind of like bringing that like amateurish energy. Like I'm probably still bringing it, honestly. But we did some like studio work. But then like one of my buddies that I played with, he did drums. He like moved to Madison, and then it just kind of fell apart after like 2 or 3 years. So,
gotcha. And so then, when did Mr. Submissive, get started?
Mike and I were in my attic hanging out summer after graduating college, and it was kind of just like, where is everyone going next? It was like, that, like, how you like experience that after you graduate high school.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, at least I did. I only went to community college for like a semester or something, but it was still kind of like everyone's doing something different now. And I didn't really have a job lined up or anything besides Whole Foods. I worked at Whole Foods for like 2 years. But Mike and I were just kind of looking for a new music project to pursue, and we just kind of started jamming after that.
So, what year is this? Because the first release for Mr. Submissive came out late 2018.
Yeah, we started in like late 2014 though. Okay. It took us a while though. Like we tried recording a couple other times, and they didn't end up quite being what we wanted it to be. And I feel like we probably started it like recording that album in like 26 or EP, I should say, is pretty short. Like 2016.
Oh yeah, because that's when Mike was living with Keegan in St. Paul. So there was also like a lineup change too, that came about in like 2017. So it was kind of like messy for those 3.5 years. Wait, I think Keegan came in like spring or something of that year, like winter of that year. And then I don't know. Like, do you remember?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, and then Keegan came in, played guitar. Mike switched to drums because Mike was our original drummer. So we did actually have one release before it, which was 2 songs, which kind of just grew past as a band, like that we recorded. That probably was in 2015. But one of the songs is going to be on our upcoming album that we're just putting the finishing touches on, but just like reworked. So if anyone has that early release, those 2 songs, it's some rare stuff because I don't think it'll be out there anymore. But I mean, if people really want them, I've hung on to them.
You released the official Mr. Submissive bootleg series.
Yeah,
hopefully it'll come in handy someday.
So the reason we're talking here today is earlier this year, you put out a split with Superheater titled Super Submissive. And so kind of talk to me about that. How did that idea get formed and how did you connect with Superheater?
Well, Max and Connor, guitar and bass for Superheater, went to school with Mike and I.
Okay.
We kind of already knew them. I had a few classes with Connor, but I didn't really get to know Max until we started playing shows. And Superheater's older drummer, Tim Abel, was a good friend of mine, and he moved away to like the West Coast. So we were already kind of like established relationship-wise. Yeah, Connor never lived with you, did he, Mike?
No, he crashed on our couch for a little bit.
Yeah,
at some point when he was in, that awkward time when you're like in between leases.
Yeah,
he's like, I need somewhere for like a week and so yeah, yeah. Connor's been a good friend for a while. One of the first people I met at Augsburg.
Gotcha. So you guys met, and so when did this idea for a split come about for y'all?
I feel like it was just after playing so many shows together. We're like, like we love their music, and so I'll go to their shows even if we're not playing at them. Not just if we're playing together. And so we're like, we should just release something together. Especially like for the design to like Mike and Keegan are great graphic artists too, and Max is as well. So kind of being able to let them experiment on like cover design stuff and also just record some songs together too. So we actually like recorded them all in the same room. Not, it was different sessions.
Yeah.
And ours took a little bit longer. Like Superheater, we were tracking in 4 hours, and it took us so long to finish, like finally tracking our songs. So we kind of held that up a little bit. So that was kind of the thing. Like, hey, we'll kind of record them the same style, have the same person do it. So a little bit of that cohesion there, rather than just saying, here's 2 songs of ours and 2 songs of yours, and we'll mash them together. So that's kind of how it came about, and yeah, it went pretty well. Obviously, I think I could do a lot better now, but that's music. You got to stop and release something somewhere and then just move on to the next thing.
You always go back and be like, man, I should have done X, Y, and Z, and it would have been so much better. And you're just like, well, can't touch it anymore.
Yep, it's out there.
And something I was looking through social media, and I saw that you sat on the split for a while. It was recorded 2019, 2020.
Yeah, I guess COVID happened like pretty early in 2020, and I think the initial plan was to, I think one of the last shows we played was with them. Was it? No, I'm confusing entry shows. That was with Manual Disappointment or whatever. But the plan was to like release it that spring or summer, and we just figured no one's really playing out. Like we could probably sit on this for a little bit at least, but we didn't realize it would be as long as it was.
We're just gonna hang out for 6 weeks and everybody will be back to normal, and then it was like 2 years later before everybody felt at least comfortable to go outside.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't want to get like lost in the sea of like COVID releases when everyone was like frantically putting out music just to have their last statement.
Oh yeah.
So then talk to me about these two songs. There's just two of them, so we can kind of go almost do a little track by track for the two Mr. Submissive songs. So the first one is Trauma Flosser, which is the longer of the two songs, and it's kind of the jammier as well of the two. So kind of talk to me about that song, what went into it, and kind of what it's all about.
I think like a big thing with the split was that it kind of it's kind of a departure from what we were initially kind of envisioning with like a surfier, like psych pop sort of setup. Also like kind of leaning into the garage rock, but this is full on like psychedelic noise punk ish. If you want to get into genre names, we could call it. And it just like, it felt really cool. It was like loud and it was like very fuzzy, and it came together like Trauma Flosser. I like look back on like the sessions for it. It was really fun writing it with you guys, Mike, and I wish I could say you guys and like tear up and shit, but group hug. But no, it was really fun. Things just melded really well. And it was at this practice space that we are currently at, but it was in a different room that wasn't treated. So like actually practicing there sometimes kind of hurt, you know, like physically. But yeah, I guess really dissonant sounding.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with the way that one turned out. Well, both of the tracks, but Trauma Flosser just kind of stood out. It's my first. Sorry, I was going to say it was my first time recording live as well for a release.
Oh yeah, we did do that. Yep. Yeah, we did guitars and drums live, and then we did vocal overdubs, and then I just did my bass at home. Just because it's like while I'm recording, I was like, I'm not going to also try to play. I'll just do it after the fact.
Yeah.
But yeah, that song came about pretty cool. I feel like we were just like randomly jamming on some stuff, and then just like, you know, as you kind of do before you start like rehearsing the songs you want to, you're just kind of goofing around, and it kind of started from that. And then we're like, oh, maybe we actually got something here, and kind of fleshed it out from there. And yeah, it ended up sounding really cool. Just like the composition of it all made it super easy for me to mix to, even if I think I could do better now, like I said earlier. But yeah, it was just like all this. It just kind of flowed out. Like it seemed like that was not a hard song to write. But in retrospect, I don't know how exactly it happened.
Really organic, I would say. Like one of the most organic songwriting experiences I've ever had. It felt like a really fluid, like maybe we worked on it for 4 or 5 sessions, and then it was pretty cemented. At least that's how it felt to me, but could have been longer.
You mean 4 or 5 sessions, like for recording or like writing sessions?
Writing it, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, like practicing took a little bit.
Yeah. And
the pieces. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Go on.
I was just going to say the pieces were there for it to be as quick as it was.
Yeah. And you mentioned that this was the first time you recorded certain elements, you know, the guitars and drums live. And I feel like that, especially that like middle to like last section of the song where it gets really jammy and kind of out there, kind of lends itself to it to kind of allow you to kind of go with the flow almost.
Yeah. I guess what I would... Sorry. I was going to say just like the transition from like the beginning of the song. It's like part 1 and 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just ended up with like a really cool, like kind of just like in the room sound with some of the elements and stuff. So, you know, not overly polished, not 100% by intention, just because of my lack of experience too. But, you know, I think that's just kind of part of the self authorship we kind of like to have over releases, which is just kind of doing it all ourselves. Like, even if we could have someone else like definitely could record us better, right? Better room, better gear, more experienced technician, all that stuff. But I mean, we could also hire a session bassist that could play my parts better too. So it's just like, it's something that's kind of fun for all of us too, is just controlling everything.
Well, of course, it's your statement too. You want to have, obviously, you put something out that you're like, you could put something out that's technically imperfect, but you're just like, but this is ours, We can then move on unless anybody else has anything else they want to say about Trauma Floss, or we can move on to Johnny Joni.
Let's go to Johnny Joni, man.
Let's do it.
So talk about that song. Kind of what were you writing about when you were getting into it, and kind of what was going on with that one?
That one is a little bit more of like a teenage angst, sort of like, like I want you, but I don't know if you want me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of fun to write.
Mm-hmm.
I got to use like a lot of like, like sexy, like sultry sort of lines in the lyrics, and I'm glad that it's so distorted and warped, so you can't hear me talk about the vulnerabilities of my life, or whatever.
Yeah, the luxury of using vocals as almost a texture inside of a
like an instrument,
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's how I like to view it as. Or just like, I wish I could understand your lyrics or something like that. It's less about that for me and more of just like look what my band can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, I'm gonna bust out.
That's always a constant struggle when it comes to mixing things down.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of reverb and distortion, the preferences can vary by band members. So that's always a topic of conversation. But that's just some kind of insight into why we have it kind of the way we do, though. That's getting kind of real deep here on the insights into the decisions. We're going into the psychology behind it.
It's the thing, I think people who aren't like in bands or like are close to bands that they don't understand. It's everybody sits in a room with like their notepad and like takes their notes as you listen through the record, and you're like, then you get to argue about, well, I think the bass should be like this during this point, and maybe we should dry up the vocals a little bit here. And just like the boring part of making a record.
We did that last week.
Yeah.
Like this day last week. I'm not even like kidding,
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
So another session of those ahead, I think, too. We're getting there, though. This will be our next one. Will be our longest release, and I mean, we still don't have album art. We still haven't named it. I don't really involve myself in that too much, though. And back on the topic of Johnny Joni, that one I don't think I even did contributed much to writing that. I feel like I just showed up to practice, and Billy and the other Mike Grasky were just like, "Hey, we got the song. Here it is." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So that one was a nice, easy one for me. I got to experiment a little bit when I was recording it. Just at the end, I got a little bit solo-y with my bass because I was like, "When am I ever gonna have another opportunity where I come up with something that sounds good enough for me to put out?" And there's just the perfect window for it in the song. So I was like, I'm just going to take my moment here and hope they're cool with it.
It's awesome. And earlier, before we kind of dug into the songs, you mentioned that you called this split a departure for Mr. Submissive. So were you specifically writing or picking these songs for the split to show off as the departure, or was it more, we have these two songs, we don't know where to put them yet?
I would say more the latter.
Okay.
When you, Mike?
Yeah, well, and I would also say some of it was kind of like some consistency, matching a little bit of Superheaters, like a little bit more driving, aggressive, sometimes distorted sound. And so kind of matching that energy level, but with their own style.
Were you in Superheater going back and forth a little bit, being like, hey, here's the songs we're going to pick? Like, did you allow each other to have much say into like maybe the songs that flowed together? It was just like, here are the two songs, take them or leave them, kind of within reason, obviously.
I think we chose those songs because they are a lot more complementary to Superheater's style.
Mm-hmm.
They're more of like the fuzzed out, like psych gaze sort of sound. And for a while, you know, we were just kind of set on doing the poppier surf rock stuff. But I mean, we all have kind of like a garagey, like punk, heavy sound, like at least in interest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more, I don't know, where I see this project heading personally, just kind of just doing what we want as opposed to following like a specific sound that we gradually turned into or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love a band who does a good pivot into something different. My coworker and I were talking about that the other day because, what was it? Military Gun put out their new single, and it was like, what if instead of hardcore, we do power pop? And I was like, this is what I wanted today, actually. I'm okay with this. And so,
hell yeah.
We love a good pivot.
Are you in any bands?
I play in...
oh, shit. Damn, dude.
So both Wes
you know
and I...
Bobby?
Bobby, yes.
Yeah, you know Bobby.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I was like, when we think of Bobby's, I know Bobby.
Yeah. He's a big fan of your band.
Yeah, because he played in, what band was that in?
He's in Mullet.
Yeah, he's in Mullet, and then Shrieking Violets, before that.
Yep.
They put out those two songs and then just disappeared.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, Mullet's sick. He sent me the record randomly, and I was like, I like this. It's almost like new wavy, but what if we had some shred guitar on top of it? And
hell yeah,
yeah.
Well, we're playing with them this summer, right?
Yeah, on the second show at Underground Music Cafe.
Nice.
It's always out. It's like almost 5 months out, but we got it on the book.
Hell yeah, it's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get back out there. Was the last show we did the one where we played on that lift?
On the Skyjack?
Yeah.
Yeah, we played on like a cherry picker sort of scenario last summer. Was that in August?
Yeah, in the rain.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out like we had hoped. It was kind of funny though. Like,
it's one of those better in concept than execution.
Yeah, we got some cool photos out of it.
It was pretty funny. It was really funny. But yeah, that was like the last thing we did. But yeah, the show at Underground Music Cafe is gonna be sweet with Gash. Have you heard them?
Yeah, I haven't seen. Because they're from, is it Milwaukee?
I was thinking like Appleton.
Appleton? Okay, yeah.
But them, and then there's this no wave band from New York that's playing.
Okay,
that'll be fun. But we're hoping to like get one or two more shows before that if we're ready by then. But I'm just ready to get back to playing.
So I just have a few questions left. Do you have any favorite memories from working on this? Because this was kind of like the writing process plus first times performing a lot of or recording a lot of this live. Is there some moments that you think back on, whether they're more the recording or something that happened during or even writing, that you kind of come back to?
Oh man, I don't even know. I don't even like such a blur for that period. You know what I mean?
So long ago, and you had a whole lifetime in between. Yeah,
pretty much. Like, I guess what these songs are probably like 4 years old, 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, probably 4, like 2019 ish, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out like what I was doing in 2019.
What's even happening?
Yeah, for real. I was living like 5 blocks away from where I'm living now, so obviously not much. I would say, man, I remember like when we were working on some of these songs, like we came to practice in fucking masks. Remember that?
For these?
Yeah. Because this was in like
this was definitely done before the pandemic.
No.
I think we definitely practiced in masks, but we recorded this like Superheater. We were done in like 4 hours. That was the highlight for me, was recording another band and getting with those guys. And it was a pretty easy process. even if I do things hopefully a little better in hindsight.
Maybe, I think I'm like, because where we wrote these songs, like Trauma Flosser, Johnny Joni, were in the same room that we practiced in prior to the new one.
Yep.
And we played in masks in that room. So maybe like shortly after. I don't know. Besides,
no, yeah, we did do that, but this was done by then. We probably played those songs.
Probably. God damn
it. Yeah.
It's been too long, I guess, for you. That's our issue. We sit so long on everything. But hey, it is. We'll go at our own pace.
Yeah.
No one's clamoring for this.
You trust the process. If it takes a while, it takes a while. Mike, do you record other bands outside of the Mr. Submissive stuff, or was this kind of working with Superheater in that context the first time you kind of recorded another band within kind of that project?
Yeah, I guess in this much detail, I do with a friend of mine, Sam Wagner. He will do a lot of like videography for bands. He'll even like go and do stuff for just like for free, and he'll put like so much work into it. It's crazy. He'll run like multiple cameras and everything. And sometimes I'll go and I'll do like the audio with the field recorder. Sometimes I've set up like microphones for like friends' choirs and stuff. So try to do those jobs where I can and get some experience. But otherwise, Superheater was only like drums, vocals, guitars type of like recording that I did so far. Like, we'll see where it goes from here. You know, I'm good at working with Mr. Submissive, but it's another thing to like work with people you don't know as well. And
yeah. That's fair. No, that's valid. But, and then a couple more questions here. Do you have any, like, this is the time we always like leave for people to like shout out whether they're, you know, favorite local bands or friends bands, regional kind of acts that you really love. Do you guys have any of those you wanted to, you know, shout out?
I like them all, man.
Them all? Yeah.
They're all, it's a very, you know, rich scene that we've got here. I was just going through some of my older cassettes too. Like I have so many local music cassettes. That's pretty much like the only kind of cassette I buy.
Same, yeah.
And I would really like Fiji 13 to come off their hiatus.
I haven't thought about that band in a while.
That band rocks.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah, I guess like them, like I have them like all right here. Jesus Christ.
Prepared.
Supermodels. I've got Falling. I've got Straya. I've got Frankie Teardrop and Products.
It's a Product Heavy Meadow release?
Yep. On the line.
Yeah, Jeremy gave me a bunch of Heavy Meadow tapes, and Products is the one I'm missing from my entire collection, and I'm so pissed.
We can talk, man.
How much it worth to you? Yeah,
I've got another one. I've got the Pink Boom one too.
That's funny.
Yeah, just unloaded in here. I got Posh Posh. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, Billy's real tapped into to all of this. I'm a little bit less so, a little bit less of a social butterfly than Billy is. But I don't Silo, we played a show with them a little while ago. They just dropped a new EP that sounds great. Been listening to that a lot. We've played some other shows recently with bands like River Sinclair. They were really fun.
The Terrestrials were great.
Yeah, that show was like I find like every time we play a show, and usually Billy kind of does a lot of the organizing and booking or collaborates with other people on that, and just kind of tells us what the deal is. So we thank him for always being the one to do that. But yeah, I just like end up being like, oh, after seeing him live, I'm just like, okay, I need more. Rebecca, that's one I just helped to record their little Tiny Desk concert audition video that is hopefully coming out before the deadline in March. We just filmed and recorded that this weekend.
Nice.
So.
They actually showed me that video. You guys did a pretty good job.
Yeah, it was a tough little, had to squeeze everything in there, but it'll be cool.
Yeah, I can imagine because Rebecca's they're quite an act to try and do the tiny desk format with.
Yeah, yep. Balancing like having, especially in a tiny room where
Yeah.
they're not being like super loud because it's just in their house. So it's like, all right, we need some stuff on the drums, and then you got to like turn everything up to compete with, like, you can only make a saxophone so quiet, right? So I think we got a pretty decent balance because I couldn't like do a whole multi-track setup in there.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little bit more prep time. I found out about this project like the morning of, so I was just like, I can cobble some things together and stop by. So, but we recorded it all in like an hour. So
nice. Oh, cool. And finally here, how can people, if they want to learn more about Mr. Submissive, want to make sure they're caught up if when you're playing shows and you're releasing music, where can they connect with y'all online?
We've got Spotify, we've got Bandcamp, we have Instagram, we've got Apple Music.
I mean, you don't have to list everything. We're on most of the streaming services. Yeah, I do I have a website too, suedepacifier.com. I don't even know if I updated it yet with this release. I've been pretty terrible. I was like, just get it out on streaming is always like the number one thing in Bandcamp. But that website will also have some projects, and that's where we put all our music videos and stuff too. So we've got some of those up on YouTube. Some fun music videos from the past. I'll have to do some more sometime. Okay. The last one was such a project that I feel like we needed a break.
That's fair. It's valid. Well, cool. The release is called Super Submissive. It's out now, so people should go check it out. Billy, Mike, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with me.
Yeah, man, of course.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Ear Coffee Podcast. My name's Joe, and I'm joined by Max and Kevin of the band Superheater. Good evening. How's it going?
Doing good. How are you?
Feeling good.
Pretty good. I'm glad y'all could join me on this Friday night. Or no, it's Thursday. I forget what days it is. Everything's blending together. Thursday night. I appreciate you guys joining me then. So starting off, I ask every band basically the same thing is, how do you describe Superheater to people who are like not in the know, whether it's like a family member at like Christmas or a coworker where they're just trying to make small talk on break, when they go, oh, cool, you play music. What's Superheater? What's your one like line that you go to?
Wow. Very good question.
Yeah,
a psychedelic, fuzzed out, driving music, I guess. Those are like my go-to keywords. I don't know. You?
Similar, yeah. Definitely it is an upbeat, non-stop moving train of just good guitar riffs, as many as possible.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Riff heavy for sure.
Yeah. That's what I do. We got the riffs. It's Superheater. Yeah.
That's right, dude.
Well, cool. So start off, kind of talk to me. This is before Superheaters formed, but how did you individually get into music? What made you want to like pick up an instrument, and what made you want to start playing in bands?
Another good question. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I think definitely my dad was a huge Hendrix fan, and Hendrix was always playing. So it was like Hound Dog Taylor and like R.L. Burnside. So from the get-go, real kind of like one, especially with RL, like kind of like one core type music. It is driving the whole time. But yeah, all this is cool music and Motown, and there was always a guitar laying around the house. And so I picked that up, just playing through bands through high school. And then during college, started Superheater, and I think it was 2014. But yeah, and then Kevin joined in 2017, I believe.
I think so.
2018.
Yeah. Somewhere in there. Yeah. Your story for starting music's cooler than mine. I started because I started playing originally playing guitar in middle school. And it was because a buddy of mine started playing bass, and he was really into like Slipknot and stuff. And he was like, start a band. And I was like, Slipknot's cool. Yeah. So I don't know. You got cooler names to drop than I have.
No, dude, I think
so I started playing guitar, and then played in a lot of bands through high school. But every time I would join bands, we always had issues with finding drummers because everybody wanted to play guitar. So eventually I was in this band, and our bass player's dad was also in a band, and they had a drum set in the basement. And just as we kept going for a couple years, I just occasionally sit in and mess around on the drum kit, and then that just kind of became a thing till I eventually just started drumming.
Okay. That's the way to do it. Drummers, there's always a lack of drummers, and so the person who takes the hit to become the drummer is always mad respect.
Oh, yeah. You'll always have a job. You know?
Yeah.
It's fine.
So you've been playing in bands. When did Superheater form? When was that kind of started? You said about 2014?
Yep, 2014 was when the first EP, Something Sticky, came out. And then from there, I think we put out a few EPs. It's mostly on Bandcamp.
I should ask, was that with Connor? Because we should say our bass player is currently out of the state right now. But Connor, our bass player, did he join originally?
He joined. He wasn't part of that first EP, but he was joined soon afterwards, around 2015. Anyways, so that started, and then I don't even know how many like little EPs and things we put up, but we just love always recording music and just putting it up on the internet just for fun. And so, then we got our first release, Get Decent, in about 2017, 2018. Drummer left for Portland, and then Kevin was the first dude on Craigslist to respond to our ad. First time I ever really used Craigslist for musicians.
Yeah, and I had been scrolling Craigslist for months after moving up to the cities, and Craigslist for bands is kind of a crapshoot. Who knows what you'll find? But there was an ad for a group called Superheater looking for a drummer and a saxophone player.
Oh,
and like a link to Get Decent, and I heard the album and I was like, "Damn, I got to try out for this."
Did you ever add a saxophone player?
No, man. Someone the certain. Well, I haven't really searched that hard, but sax players out there, hit us up, dude. Yeah. So then we recorded a couple EPs together.
Yeah, 2 EPs.
2 EPs, and then after that, we recorded these 2 songs that are going to be on this on this split with Mr. Submissive.
Yeah. And were you always self-producing a lot of the music you're putting out, or working with somebody? Yeah,
we'd work with our friend Kristen. Shout out to Kristen, who was doing sound at Dayblock and sound at 331. She helped record some of our early stuff. And we just kind of started recording with Ollie from Another Heaven.
Hell yeah.
And then we've just been recording with them for like the last, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, no, shout out Ollie. I love all of his work. Also, Another Heaven rules, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good dude.
They're great. He's awesome to work with. So it's really cool.
And so the reason, we're talking here today is the split you released in January, I believe, which was Super Submissive, which you did with Mr. Submissive. So talk to me, how did you kind of link up with Mr. Submissive, and how did the idea for this split come about?
So we knew Billy from Augsburg. Me and Connor went to Augsburg. That's how we met. And he came to one of our shows at Palmer's. We became friends. And we just kind of became like brother bands, and we would like join each other's bills often. And so we always wanted to put out a split together. And I had written these songs like a couple years before we recorded them with Mr. Submissive. But we had never really properly recorded them or had like a actual release for them. So we're like, hey, these 2 songs would be perfect with their sound. So let's use these 2 songs. And we drove out to like just north of like Northeast on 65 to Mike Fetting's dad's like office space to record these tunes. And we're like, in an office. It was awesome. But so we recorded that a few years ago.
Yeah.
And then now we're just kind of getting around to releasing it.
Yeah. How does it feel to have these songs out? Because when I was talking to Mr. Submissive last week, as of recording this, it was both of those had kind of been the songs. All four of these songs seem to have been like sitting around for a minute.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think back on it, from that initial recording process, like where we were at as a band, and then just where like the world and music scene was at. I mean, now after like 2020 and everything happening, like the difference of what we've seen, like just going down to some dude's dad's office and recording 2 songs on a whim was pretty easy and simple. And then I don't know, just the life that this little EP has had. It's seen some things, you know.
Yeah.
It's wild.
What do you mean seen some things?
I don't know. Just it's traveled along with us through this whole.
It's been,
what is it? Few years.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just fun to finally like release these tunes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's our shitty work ethic or what, but things tend to take a little longer than we'd like to. But yeah, it's nice to have them released because they're old songs and we listen to them now. We're like, hey, these are pretty cool and fun, catchy. And just a nice little capsule of what Superheater sounded in, you know, that year of writing. The Superheater is always kind of changing sounds and, you know, stuff. So yeah, that was a fun little period of drinking and taking Adderall and writing songs.
So you mentioned the you know, Superheater is an ever growing and changing kind of act as you kind of progress. Do you revisit these songs live, or is it kind of you've let this split be almost like a little time capsule for the band?
Yeah, we haven't practiced them since we put it out. So
yeah,
you know,
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, we still love playing them. We just haven't. We just always love writing new material and just playing new shit. So
yeah, it kind of happens every practice. It's almost like we fall into some kind of groove where we just start writing something new. Like Max and I were literally playing tonight and working out more riffs for more stuff. I don't know. It's kind of nonstop. But it's kind of fun. Like, again, with like this coming out now after, you know, a little bit of a delay, but it's fun to revisit where we've kind of been on this track of like constantly pushing and developing. So it's fun to like look back and see this, because like Max said, hearing them, and like I remember when we got the mixes and I came over and we threw them on in the basement, and it was like, damn, these songs are actually really fucking good. And that like was nice after, you know, doing so much of like focusing on trying to develop the sound and push ourselves more.
Yeah.
To just kind of look back and be like, oh no, like we don't suck. It's nice.
Yeah.
I need to do that more.
So you sound like, as a band, given like how prolific your writing seems to be, like you're pretty quick to move on from music once it's kind of set in stone, right?
Yeah, almost like to a fault. Like where we get frustrated, like if we're recording and then like we get the mixes after a while, it's like, cool, let's just put this out and go write something new. You know, by the time we like go through recording in a studio and then mixing and all of that and getting like stuff put on CDs or maybe vinyl or whatever, it's almost like an impatience to like, yeah, that was really cool. What next? You know?
It's part of the Superheater train, man. Because we got an album that we recorded in 2020 or 2021 that we are going to release this year. We're planning on.
Oh,
full
sick.
record.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
So I want to jump in then to the 2 songs. Since there's 2 of them, we don't have to do the full like workout of like going through a whole record, but we're doing the 2. So the first song, you at least the band or the Spotify listing is Sand Dollar. So you want to talk to me a little bit about the song, kind of what you were working on when you were writing it, kind of what you put into it?
Yeah, so this was just like, I think, really inspired by like the Dirt Bombs and just like a really good catchy hook. And so this was also inspired by like a trip to California for a family's wedding. So hang out in San Diego. And yeah, just put it together with like a really quick, cool, catchy riff, and then just layering it over with some cool slide guitar hooks, drench it in reverb, make sure like the drums don't stop in the song and it's up. And it's just like kind of a swirling, pool of melodies and such for a good 2 minutes. And, that was just kind of the vibe.
Swirling pool of melodies is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Kind of like right off the bat, it opens up and like Connor's doing that, like just like this bass slide up and down. Like it really is just
ripping.
Yeah. It off pretty quick.
That's fun.
It's one of those that like really took me back to the I can't remember, it was like 2015 to 2017 when I was really into like garage rock and a lot of those like bands that someone we can't talk about anymore because they're not cool people, but just like taking you back, and it was such a fun just revisit almost.
Definitely. Yeah.
And so the second song is it Yucca Valley or is it Yucca Valley?
Yep, Yucca Valley. Yeah. So that song was, inspired by that region of California and just a quick trip out to that Joshua Tree Motel that's out there. And again, just kind of a hazy night of, a stream of consciousness of lyrics type of deal. And I think around this time, a lot of Parquet Courts was on. And so just a nice driving chord. The songs were actually written both in the key of B to be played one after another in like a live set. And so, just another one with a good guitar hook. Just some, shouting the lyrics over, and again, just drench the hook and reverb. Kind of the same ordeal, but I don't know. What do you got to say, Kat?
No, I think that's pretty accurate. I don't know.
Yeah. Almost kind of meant to be a little companion piece together.
Yeah, they definitely are kind of a fun little dynamic together. I know I want to mention too, just because he's not here, and we had asked him if there was anything he wanted to mention in the writing and stuff, and Khan mentioned for like the bass lines, and I think it shows a lot too in that Yucca Valley Girl. He wanted to just kind of almost make the bass like a lead instrument was kind of his idea with it. Like letting it kind of have its own melodies within there. And I think it shows a lot, like in a Fugazi kind of way. And I really like the play between the guitar and bass in both these songs. It's really fun. In kind of everything we write, it's really fun to play drums with these two.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys do stuff that I'm like, I don't even know if you're aware you're doing these things, but the way they play off each other is really cool.
Oh yeah.
I specifically, like, I was listening to the songs again when I was driving home from work this afternoon, and the intro section to Yucca Valley, and like it almost hangs on too long in the best way possible. You're just like, come on, explode, let's burst into it before it kind of kicks into like the bass becoming almost that lead instrument. It's so cool.
Yeah, I remember when we were going in to record these, because I hadn't heard these songs when I had first joined, and then it was like, yeah, we're going to do the split. We're going to pull out some older tracks. And I remember thinking the same thing when I was learning how to play it. I was like, damn, that opening chord just goes. But I don't know. I kind of like fell in love with that. Like getting to that point where I'm like, have I played this too long? And then it finally hits. I don't know. It just, it's kind of fun.
It doesn't fully explode in the way you almost want it to, because it's that slow burn that you
it finally kicks in, and then it like we kick it in by like dropping out, and Khan comes in with that bass line. But it's great. I don't know.
When I was talking to Mike and Billy of Mr. Submissive, they mentioned how you recorded and you kind of mentioned this earlier, you recorded everything with Mike. What was that like doing the whole session? Because you mentioned a little earlier you drove out to like this office space kind of north of Northeast, but what was the experience of working in that environment?
I mean, working with those guys, very comfortable because we know them. I loved it. It's just, we're just trying to like do it all by ourselves, and working in this space where it literally has like blinds in the office where you can close the blinds inside of a room that's inside the building, which is just like crazy. But that just adds like another kind of layer of weirdness to it all. And I don't know, I wish there was something more in like the juxtaposition of like his 80s office building and like our ripping melody. And yeah, I don't know if there is, but it was just really fun. Just add another element of like, I don't know.
Yeah, why? Yeah, it definitely was a very comfortable, like you said, DIY kind of space. And we recorded it. The nice thing was, in the same way that we've recorded kind of everywhere, like in different studios with Ali, but also even in this office space, it was just the three of us standing in the same room, headphones on, and
I'm like behind a desk.
Yeah, Max. And Connor's by the door, and I don't know. It was just like
we turned off the lights, I think, at one point, just to make sure the vibe was even, just to cancel out like the fucking walls and ceiling and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, it was just fun. It was weird as fuck.
Yeah.
And so you usually cut a lot of your stuff live, kind of. Is that the idea? Yeah.
Usually it's all like at least the bass tracks, like not bass tracks, but like the drums, bass, and then like Max's main guitar stuff. We pretty much like to do all together, just because I think we have a lot of nice. I don't know. There's like good like raw energy to Superheater that we always want to capture. But doing that all together really feels the most comfortable. And then if we do end up doing like more overdubs, or like we've been getting more experimental, like adding different layers with Max's guitar and stuff, that we add on afterwards. You do vocals afterwards, but it usually just feels best to get those songs recorded all together.
Yeah. Well, that kind of moves away from the main body of the questions I have for this evening. But I did want to ask about the artwork on this. And usually I don't ask about cover art just because it's not always something I'm interested. But with the two sets of songs, you have very different cover art styles from the Mr. Submissive, which is almost maybe not pop art, but like the very bold colors. And you guys are a little more psychedelic with the mishmash of like the iconography with the lettering. And kind of talk to me about, was that intentional to do it that way, or what? Or was it just more we both had two covers? Yeah,
I think it was like he was like, "Well, we'll make something. I'll make something, and we'll see what we like." And then, they made this thing with like toothpick in the lips, and I was like, "All right, yeah, that's dope." But I like my lizard and the cowboy hat with the gun.
Yeah,
and it kind of fits like that desert vibe. Yeah, and just typographical choices, more with our vibe. But once we put it out on the actual split, I don't know which art we'll be choosing, but hopefully ours. But
is there physical that's coming with this then, or is that?
I think so. Yeah,
I would like there to be.
Yeah, we want a 7-inch for sure.
If I have a say in it, yeah.
Do you have the money, and do you want to wait like 10 years for records to come?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my band, we ordered vinyl for our first record like 2021, and we got it like 2 weeks ago. And you're just like,
seriously,
bro, yeah, year and a half worth. Oh, sorry, what?
Where'd you order it from?
Soft Wax, I think, was where we went through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ali gave us the name of like this place in Taiwan. And he was like, I don't know, they got it to us in like 4 or 5 months. I was like, all right, I'll try these guys. Price, but
yeah.
Anyways.
That's funny.
It's crazy.
A couple more questions here this evening. So do you have any like favorite memories or things looking back on from working on these songs, or even working with, members of Mr. Submissive on the music that kind of you come to when you think about it?
Man, it's just all good times, I just love collabing with people and, linking up with like-minded folks. And those dudes are so much fun. And yeah, we've been playing with them for a few years. And and I really like their songs and their sound.
Mm-hmm.
So just to link up with them is really cool, and yeah, I feel good. I just feel good about the split and how it sounds. It's just, yeah, you're just good buds, and it's just fun to do this shit in life, man. Just capture the little moments and artistic and creative endeavors with your friends. Really what it's all about. So, yeah,
well said.
Yeah,
I have nothing to add to that. It's cool. Other than going to some random office and you had to be there to experience how weird that was, but how great it was.
I got White Castle on the way home.
Hell yeah.
What a great memory.
One more question here. We always kind of like a portion for shout outs, whether it's, friends bands, regional bands you want people to know about. Who's the list of the short list here that if people don't know about them, they should know about?
So to say, my buddy Adam Lenz is in Le Percheron. That's a good jazz group he plays bass in, and I think they rock. They just played at the Ice House and did like some Don Cherry or Ornette Coleman music, and they just kill it live. And so that's my go-to for my favorite local band currently.
I want to check them out. I don't know them. Oh, dang. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of extraterrestrials lately. That's kind of been my go-to for a long time. Oh, yeah. Monica's great too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Anything Orion writes is just so freaking catchy. Can't get over it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We also like McVicker.
Oh, yeah.
They were supposed to be on a release show before COVID happened.
Busey.
Yep. They're really good. Obviously, Sirac.
Yeah.
I like that group. Yeah, man. There's a lot of good shit out there. Especially your Wish Wash. We were just listening to them.
Oh, yeah. Wish Washes.
They seem cool.
They kind of split off from Witch Watch. Is that kind of the bit where they
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I remember Witch Watch, and I was like, well, this is Wish Watch.
Yeah, 'cause I just remember the Witch Watch dropping like a crazy long record and then being like, all right, we're done. And then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the first ones that really come to mind.
Cool. Finally here, where can people connect with you online if they want to know about upcoming shows, music, all that fun stuff? Where should they search?
Yeah. So definitely hit us up on Instagram. I don't think any of us really have a Facebook anymore. So yeah, it's probably out there, but it's just our page is rotting on the web. And so definitely hit us up on Instagram for any most up-to-date shit. But we also don't post much on there. We're really wrangling to get out and play a live show. We've been practicing like hell. So we're going to have a live show for sure coming up here in the spring. But yeah, stay tuned on Instagram for that shit. Otherwise, if you want to listen to music, it's on Spotify, that horrible shit, or it's on Bandcamp. And yeah, I think that's it.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, Super Submissive, the split you have with Mr. Submissive is out now. It's awesome. Congrats on the great music. It was a great listen. Max, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, my dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
The Ear Coffee Podcast is a companion to the blog of the same name. If you like this episode, please leave us a rate and review so we can stand out among the other music podcasts. You can follow us at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @Ear Coffee. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.